Man, hey, David.
Hey, what's up? This your boy Big Man. You already know what it is, man. So let's get right to it. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about Young Buck and CookUp Boss, man. So Young Buck and CookUp Boss have been going back and forth for a while, right? They had a falling out. CookUp Boss still says and considers Young Buck one of his homies. But Young Buck made a lot of attention yesterday, or I should say last night, when he went on the Big Facts podcast, with Big Bank Black and DJ Scream and his whole team or whatnot, man. It's on the Revolt Network. They doing big things, right? Now, while on there, Young Buck talked about pretty much everything. All the subjects that have been swirling around on social media or whatnot. But he was quick to cut some of those things off quickly after he talked about them a little bit. He was trying to paint a narrative and then just end the conversation there, which I understand because dealing with the same question time after time after time again could probably be tiring. But CookUp Boss didn't like what Young Buck said about him. So he took to social media to talk about that situation. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go over all these clips. And before I get to the specifics, do me a favor. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And man, let's get it. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about this Young Buck interview. Okay, so he went and he talked to the Big Facts podcast, and this is what he said, man. He basically talked about the situation with 50 Cent, the allegations that were going around about the video that leaked. You guys know what I mean. Got to choose your words carefully when you're talking about that situation. And let me preface this, man. This is no kind of diss to Young Buck or anything like that because of how he carries on his lifestyle or who he chooses to love and be in a relationship with. That's his business personally. I have no quarrels with that at all. You know, he's a grown man. He can do what he wants, right? Now, after prefacing that, let's go and talk about his situation with the interviewer. So the situation that happened where he got caught on the cell phone or whatever came up. And it seemed like Big Bank Black, he asked him, about it. And Young Buck got frustrated. I mean, he really got upset, man. Everybody was like, what in the world? Because he snapped quick, man. He snapped on Big Bank Black real quick. It was like, man, don't ask me about that no more. And, man, he tried to chill, and he was, like, looking at Young Buck kind of strange, like, yo, dog, you here for an interview, so we going to ask you questions. But it seemed like he was just frustrated, so they let it lie there. Now, Young Buck continued to make a lot of accusations. He talked about his beef with Starlito. Now, a lot of you might have seen the viral video of Starlito and Young Buck getting into it at the back by the locker room or whatever, or the concession stand at a basketball game in Nashville. Now, for those of you who don't know, Starlito, or I think it's going by All Star now, is a rapper out of Nashville, Tennessee. And dude has a reasonable buzz. He's bubbling, man. He's bubbling. He's been bubbling for a while too. So it's about time for him to do something big, and we'll see. But him and Young Buck got into an altercation, and you could visibly see Young Buck, kind of pushing Starlito and told him to go get his big homies or whatever, and they can get it on or whatnot. And, man, he talked about that situation. He said that, man, he had a lot of respect for Starlito, and Starlito was dissing him just to ride along with the crowd when everybody else was dissing him. And he made that a point in this interview, but he did make a lot of big claims, too. He made a claim that pretty much everything that 50 had involvement in, he took ownership on. He took ownership on Get Rich or Die Trying. He took ownership on some of the parts in the vitamin water deal. I mean, he basically said he brought that deal to 50. I mean, that was the way I took it, man. Now, don't get me wrong. You might want to listen to it yourself, but that's kind of the picture he was painting. Now, he talked about his old homeboy, CookUp. Now, CookUp says they still homeboys. He just, he just doesn't vibe with him like he used to because of whatever reason. He personally feels he doesn't want to mess with Young Buck. You know what I mean? But he took to social media to respond to the entire interview. And, man, it's making its rounds on social media, so I wanted to go ahead and look at some of these clips. So let's play this first clip. It's rather long, but he goes into detail about it, a couple of things that he believes that Young Buck was saying in the interview and he disagrees with.
Man, hey, man, listen. listen. Hey, man, what's going on out there? I know y'all seen that shit, man. Man, he lying like a... Man, this man done made up... Somebody need to get this boy some help. Like, for real, man. Man. Man, hey, man. Hey. Man, yeah, man. I watch, man. We just watch it. We watch it, man. They embarrassing us, man. Man, shout out to Big Bang Dog. Man, hey, man. Listen. Man, they said, don't ask me about the no more. And said, both of them. Damn, man. Man, that was too hard, man. David, you is f***ed up, homie. Who keep letting David do these interviews, man? Man, this is out of control, man. Hey, man, this is out of David, you should have let the call in and ask his ass some questions. Well, the rest of all the conversation with the... You had a whole relationship with that David. You know what I mean?
First clip, you can hear that, CookUp Boss basically is saying that Young Buck is lying, man. That he's out here lying. He's capping for I don't know what type of attention or whatnot. And it is kind of odd because Young Buck is on a media tour. And I think it's due to mainly get his name back out there. Because to be honest, Young Buck, from a branding perspective, is still a pretty big name. Like, he's still got a lot of pull behind that name. Now, he had a whole big controversy with the situation that took place that I'm not going to delve into, but you can tell from that clip that CookUp Boss is not feeling his interview or what he said in the interview. Now, CookUp Boss also made an interesting claim that, basically saying that Young Buck was hating on Future early on, and he said it in this clip right here.
Oh, man, and then back then, David, you took Future off that song, David. David, yeah, when Thugger sent you the damn hook, David on that line like, man.
Now, in that clip, you heard a different perspective because in the Young Buck interview, he said that he didn't know how Future got taken off the song. Even though it was supposed to be a breakout collab for Future, he didn't know how he got taken out the song when he talked to him later on in life. And Future obviously is like a super duper star, like a whole nother level, you know what I'm saying, of star right now. And it's crazy because from CookUp's perspective, he said behind the scenes, Young Buck was just basically hating on Future, and he dissed auto-tune and a whole bunch of other stuff, man. So it was interesting, man. Now, I couldn't play everything from the CookUp, interview, or him going on social media and talking about the situation. But if you go to his page, you can listen to the whole 22 minutes. And it's just interesting to hear his perspective, especially with his history with Young Buck. I thought they used to be real tight. I know they had a falling out, but it just is what it is. Now, CookUp does say that Young Buck is still his homie, right? He said there's certain precautions or whatever he said, but he said he's just, getting on social media just to clown him a little bit, to dig under his skin, just to be funny or whatnot. So hopefully everybody else can take this lightly and don't think that he's trying to bash Young Buck or whatnot. Now, this video's ran already pretty long, but what do you guys think, man? Do you think CookUp Boss is just picking on Young Buck while he's already down? Or do you feel that Young Buck is shaping up for a nice return to the rap game? And some of the claims that he made in that interview with the Big Facts podcast is on point. Now, with that, this has been your boy Big Man. Please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button. And make sure you hit that notification bell so that way you get a notification every time I drop this hot content. And we out of here. Peace.